evening and welcome to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board. Today is Thursday, July 7th, 2022. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight we are going to begin with three public hearings. Our first public hearing this evening is Riverhead PCG LLC.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Greg Bergman for the Riverhead Planning Department. So this is a public hearing on a site plan application which is seeking approval to perform improvements to an existing commercial shopping center as they relate to the reuse of an approximately 65,000 square foot portion of a vacant commercial building to allow for a new tenant occupancy. The proposed improvements mainly consist of adding a 5-bay truck loading dock to the rear of the building, installing retaining walls, installation of sound attenuating walls. They're going to replace some fencing along the southern wrapping around to the southeastern property boundary. They are going to be updating the site lighting for the eastern portion of the site. They're going to be bringing it into compliance with the town code's exterior lighting. They're going to be adding some landscaping throughout the parking lot as it relates to lowering of those light poles. We did discuss this with the planning board. There were some concerns about sound, potentially impacting potential neighbors. The applicants have contracted with a sound engineer, and they did provide a sound report to the planning board. Out of that report came the recommendations for the sound walls and some of the sound attenuation from the mechanicals up on the roof, as well as the refrigeration units. We do have representatives here for the applicant to answer any questions the board may have. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to the applicants to present further.
Good evening, Charles Cuddy on behalf of the applicants. I have an office at 445 Cliffing Avenue, Riverhead. This is, as you probably know, the old Walmart site, which has been empty for many, many years. And this will be a tenant of significance coming to this town. Because it's a site plan application, we'll be addressing, and we have people here to address, engineering, architecture, acoustics, and we'll be directing your attention to the type of use and the improvements that we have at this site, and we intend to have. I have tonight Bill Gugelman, who is a Director of Development and Construction for Phillips International, which oversees the site. We have Larry Cohn, who is one of the founders of Restaurant Depot. We have Andrew Kelly of the VHB firm, which has overseen the project, and we'll talk about the site improvements, and Dennis Flynn, the site architect. And we also have Jason Huang, who is an acoustics engineer, who will talk about the acoustic situation. This team is making every effort to have this site a valuable addition to Riverhead, and I believe after you hear this, you will understand that it will be. So without further words, I will introduce Mr. Kugelman from Phillips International.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members of the board, my name is William Kugelman, Director of Construction and Development for Phillips International, the management company for the shopping center, and here on behalf of the owner applicant, Riverhead PGC LLC. Thank you for the opportunity to appear in front of you this evening as our design team presents the site plan application for the newest anchor tenant to the Riverhead Plaza Shopping Center, Restaurant Depot. As an introduction, Phillips International is a real estate investment, development, and management company managing and/or involved in over 200 commercial properties, primarily throughout the eastern region of the United States. The Riverhead Plaza Shopping Center is an approximate 214,000 square foot shopping center set on a little under 22 acres of land and was acquired years back when, if you can remember, Caldors and King Cullen were the co-anchors of the shopping center. Like many retail tenants of that era, Caldors went out of business and the building sat vacant until Walmart leased the building around 1999, year 2000. With the Walmart tenancy came many upgrades and a revitalization of the center, attracting newer tenants and bringing the local community back to shop at the center. In 2007, the shopping center underwent a facade renovation to give it a more updated look. Around 2010, the shopping center upgraded the drainage system to correct some flooding issues. In 2012-2013, Walmart vacated the building and moved to their current location across from the Tanger's Outlet. During the last 12 years, the Phillips leasing team, including its network of commercial leasing brokers, have been aggressively marketing the site. And over the years, we have spoken to practically every major retailer, entertainment operator, theater operator, distribution center such as an Amazon, medical facilities, as well as exploring other options for the building, such as workforce housing, as well as senior housing. In 2015 through 2017, ownership engaged with Regal Cinemas to bring a modern multiplex theater to the site, which would have included demolishing a portion of the former Walmart building. Unfortunately, after almost 2 years and lots of money spent, Regal, due to their own internal issues, pulled out of the deal and never came to the center or to Riverhead at all. That leads us to today. Currently, the center has approximately 121,000 square feet of vacant space in the former Walmart building, plus another 2,000 square feet of smaller vacant space. This equates to a little over 55% of the center currently empty. After a decade of the Walmart building sitting vacant, ownership has signed a long-term lease with Restaurant Depot to take approximately 65,250 square feet of the former Walmart building and retrofit the space into a modern Restaurant Depot store. In addition to the build-out of the Restaurant Depot store, the applicant is proposing many site improvements, which will be further detailed by our design team, but they include repaving the main entrance of the shopping center as well as the eastern portion of the parking lot, new site lighting, new landscaping upgrades, fencing improvements, facade improvements, utility upgrades, a new roof, HVAC upgrades, to name some of the improvements. The only substantial change being proposed to the existing building is the demolition of the old former garden center and the construction of a new loading dock with the appropriate screening. With the lease signing of Restaurant Depot, a powerhouse in the restaurant and consumer supply category with over 135 stores, this is a turning point forward to once again create a thriving local community shopping center, which will help and secure another co-anchor for the center, help the existing smaller tenants succeed, and ultimately, we believe, the goal of the community and the town of Riverhead. Furthermore, as the center is able to secure another large co-anchor tenant as part of the next phase of the shopping center redevelopment, we are hopeful that we will be able to make further improvements to the property. Between property ownership and Restaurant Depot combined, both companies are committed and prepared to spend in the range of $9 million of new money in capital improvements and tenant fit-out work to turn this center around and start a new chapter for the Riverhead Plaza. Additionally, it should further be noted of the over 100 construction jobs this project will create, as well as a projected 40 to 60 new permanent jobs that Restaurant Depot will bring to the local community. Over the last 9 months, we have worked closely with both the owners and tenants, architects, and engineers, continuously adjusting and improving the plans, taking into account the planning department's comments, the planning board's work session comments, the architectural review board comments, as well as other county and departmental reviews in order to present a feasible, buildable, and approvable project. The tenant is in place, the financing has been secured, the construction plans are complete and out to bid, and we are ready to take that next step in the revitalization of this center. As such, the applicant respectfully seeks the support and approval from this board to take action tonight to approve and move this project forward. Next up on the presentation, and before our design team steps up, is Mr. Larry Cohen, the Chief Operating Officer of Restaurant Depot. Mr. Cohen's dad was the visionary behind the Restaurant Depot concept, and Larry, with his executive team, has been able and skillfully able to expand the concept into the company that it is today. I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Cohen, who can further explain the Restaurant Depot operation.
Hey, Matt, can you slide this thing back, because I can't just see the speaker? Thank you. Can you see? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting me here to speak. My name is Larry Cohen, and I am the Chief Operating Officer, and also, as Mr. Kugelman alluded to, one of the founders of Restaurant Depot, a company based in Whitestone, New York. We opened our first location in Elmhurst, Queens in 1990, and our second store was opened in Plainview, Long Island in 1995. We now have 145 stores in 35 states, and 16 of them are located in New York. We are open 7 days a week, typically 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, with reduced hours on weekends, 7 to 4 on Saturday and 9 to 2 on Sundays. When we open this location, we will probably start with around 40 employees, most of which will be hired locally, and over the next couple of years, we hope to grow to over 60. 90% of our deliveries come Monday through Friday, with a few perishable vendors coming on Saturdays. We do not prepare, fabricate, or cook any food. It's all sold and it's received in its original packaging, so there are no odors or wastes that are generated. All our garbage and waste goes into closed compactor, which also does not generate any odors. We are typically considered very good neighbors and well regarded in the community. We are open to the public, but most of our customers are restaurants, caterers, small business owners, and organizations such as churches, synagogues, Little Leagues, VFWs, and PTAs. Our stores are laid out much like a typical large retailer, with product and racking, wide aisles, refrigerated and frozen spaces, and cash registers at the front. We sell a full line of refrigerated and frozen foods, restaurant equipment and supplies, paper goods and cleaning supplies, almost everything a restaurant or caterer would need to run their business. Something we like to brag about is when many large retailers open up in an area, there is a byproduct that many small businesses go out of business. Something different about the Restaurant Depot is when we open in an area, we support the small business community. We support the small independent restaurants. And we found that not only do they survive, they often thrive. We offer them a place to come in and buy as much or as little as they need, as often as they need. They can handpick which steaks they want to serve that night and which vegetables look fresh and look appetizing to their customers. These are typically owner-operators who work 7, 8, 10, 12 hours a day and work all weekend to serve the best possible food. We now give them a place to come where they can handpick exactly what they want. In the 90s, there was a study done by the National Restaurant Association that showed 53% of all restaurants in America were chains, and that number was growing. 20 years later, almost 20 years, a similar study was done in 2018, and the small independent restaurants were now over 52%, and they were growing. We like to think we're a part of that. We've given them a place where they can buy what they need at prices low enough to allow them to compete with the chains. We love New York, we love Long Island, and we're hoping that Riverhead can be a great place for us for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce to you Andrew Kelly of VHB, who will talk about the layout and improvements at the site.
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Andrew Kelly. I'm a project manager and landscape architect with VHB Engineering. We're located at 100 Motor Parkway in Hauppauge, New York. The subject parcel that is associated with this application is a 21.89 acre parcel located at 765 Old Country Road and is situated between Ostrander Avenue and Oliver Street. The project site is also more commonly known as the Riverhead Plaza and was the home of the former Walmart store, as previously mentioned. The site can be accessed by 3 existing curb cuts along the Old Country Road frontage, as well as 2 secondary entries located off Ostrander Avenue and Oliver Street. The application that is currently into the town is for the tenant fit-out within a portion of the existing vacant Walmart space. The entirety of the existing vacant Walmart building is approximately 128,000 square feet, and 65,000 square feet of this space is proposed for the Restaurant Depot tenant, while approximately 55,000 square feet would remain vacant. The remaining approximately 7,000 square feet is currently occupied by existing tenants. The proposed Restaurant Depot space would be situated in the easternmost portion of the Walmart space, as shown on the site plan, just west of the existing 99-cent discount store, and a demising wall will be located just east of this main access road to the site. The proposed site improvements associated with the Restaurant Depot tenancy will be focused on the eastern half of the site, as shown by the hatched area, the gray solid hatched area on the overall site plan. These improvements include the following: the milling and overlay of the eastern half of the subject parcel, indicated again by the solid hatch, restriping of the same parking area in conformance with town code, landscaping improvements consisting of tree preservation of the existing site trees, the addition of additional shade trees within existing and proposed parking lot islands, the refreshing of existing parking lot islands with new shrub and perennial plant material throughout the site, throughout the eastern half of the site. The incorporation of a 5-bay loading dock in the area of the former Walmart Garden Center in the southeast corner of the property, which can be seen in the bottom right of the drawing that's up on the board there. New site drainage to store the loading dock runoff. Utility upgrades for the tenant fit-out, inclusive of new sewer and water connections, site transformers, generator, and refrigeration equipment. Sound mitigation structures in the form of sound walls and sound curtains installed on chain link fences around the areas of potential sound impacts, which include the generator area, which will receive an 8-foot-high chain link fence with sound curtains, the loading dock area, which will receive an 11-foot-high CMU block wall along the south side of the loading dock. The refrigeration units will receive a 12-foot-high plywall wood sound wall on both the north and south sides of the refrigeration unit, with a 12-foot-high chain link fence for access on the east side that will have the sound curtains. During our site plan application process with the town, our team received planning staff comments on January 13th, and we were also able to meet with the planning staff on January 20th for a work session where we were able to review the staff comments and gather more feedback on the proposed application. Since the receipt of these comments and after the review with the planning staff, there were several sound mitigation, lighting, and other miscellaneous site improvements or revisions requested for the proposed application. Some of the sound mitigation improvements included the location of the mechanical rooftop units. After further engineering and design, it was decided that the existing locations of the units could remain, which eliminated the need to shift the units closer to the southern edge of our proposed tenant fit-out. After going through engineering review and preliminary design, the previously specified plywall wood sound wall at the loading dock has been revised to be a CMU block wall, as previously mentioned. This will carry the same mitigation properties as the previously specified plywall. Additional no truck idling and delivering hour signage has been added to the south side of the building and the loading dock area. The installation of approximately 485 linear feet of fencing along the south and east property lines to fix the existing deteriorating fence is being proposed. This fence replacement will also follow the northern edge of the existing DRA in the southeast corner of the site, which will provide a new visual barrier from those neighboring properties. There's an existing chain link fence there today that is obviously opaque in nature, so we're providing the solid cedar fence to replace that. There were lighting improvements requested, so at the request of the planning staff, the existing non-conforming light poles within the area of work identified on the site plan will be removed and replaced with conforming LED full cutoff light fixtures that are 16 feet in height, which is a significant reduction from the height of the existing poles. As part of the lighting improvements, additional landscape islands have been added to house the additional site-located light poles, which will also aid in reducing impervious site coverage and landscape coverage within the parking field. Some of the other miscellaneous improvements that were requested during the planning staff's review were ADA stall dimensions have been revised to meet town requirements. A main drive aisle coming into the site, some of the curb radii there have been adjusted to allow for a proper truck circulation. And dumpster enclosures have been provided for the existing site-located dumpsters on the south of the, just south of the, on the backside of the building by the loading dock. We're also in receipt of comments from the Suffolk County DPW, which have requested various improvements along the right-of-way, along the Old Country frontage. We are in the process of working through those design comments, and a submission to the county is forthcoming. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Jason from my team to speak a little bit more in detail about the sound study that was prepared.
Good evening, board members. Sorry. So, VHB conducted a noise study.
Just don't state your name if you don't mind.
Oh, sorry. It's Jason Huang. My name is Jason Huang. I'm a noise specialist with VHB. VHB conduct a noise study to assess the operational noise from the from this new facility, and to comply with the noise ordinance section 251-5 to commercial, business, and industrial operation, continuous sound in air which has crossed the property line of such sound source site and enters property zoned for residential use or property within a noise-sensitive zone should not exceed either of the following levels. Between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., the noise sound should not exceed 65 dBA, and between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7 a.m., the sound level should not exceed 50 dBA. Our study analyzed the potential noise impacts from the operation of the proposed mechanic equipment and the truck activities associated with the project. A quantitative assessment evaluated the operation of the rooftop units, ground level condensing units, ground level emergency diesel generator, and the loading dock activities. The location of these equipment are presented in the mechanical drawing. This analysis evaluated the sound levels that would occur during typical operations associated with the proposed project during both the daytime and the nighttime hours. Based on the delivery schedule provided client, the truck and the loading dock activities were not included during the night hours. The project-generated sound level were calculated at the receptor location based on manufacturer reference sound level data. The noise analysis was conducted using the model program Cadna-A, which is a widely used and recognized program. The calculated project-generated sound level were then compared to the town of Riverhead's noise criteria. The proposed project has the potential to affect existing noise condition in the study area. So in our model, we analyzed assuming the following anticipated noise source to be operating at the same time. There are totally 6 rooftop mechanic units, one 100 kilowatt emergency generator, 2 refrigeration condensing units, 1 trash compactor, and a loading dock truck with 1 truck operating at one time and a back alarm at the same time. I want to emphasize that this condition is is a very conservative assumption. In reality, it shouldn't be like all these equipment operating at the same time. Based on our calculation and modeling, the result shows that at the daytime, the highest projected noise level would be 64, which is lower than 65 of the noise code during daytime. And the nighttime project noise level will be 49 dBA, which is also lower than 50 dBA of the noise ordinance. Okay.
Mr. Wong?
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question, please?
Yes.
Are you a licensed engineer or sound engineer?
I'm not licensed engineer. I'm environmental scientist.
Okay, I'm just curious if
Sure.
somebody with a license has said that the neighbors on the south side are going to be able to enjoy, their quiet enjoyment on their property. Are you convinced that the current plan you have is going to make the residents on the south side still have a good quality of life there?
Yes. Our modeling have put all these proposed barrier together through the south side, and we have a barrier enclosure for the emergency generator and the condensing unit.
Thank you.
To conclude our presentation, I'm asking Dennis Flynn, who's the architect for the site, to show you the layout for the site. Thank you.
Good evening. Dennis Flynn, Rosenbaum Design Group, 2001 Marcus Avenue, Lake Success, New York. Just want to talk briefly about the construction and the architectural aspects of the building. As everyone is aware, this space is occupying portion of the former Walmart space, taking approximately 50% of the space. The facade facing the parking lot is remaining very close to the way it was. It's being repaired, it's being patched, it's being refinished, and we're repurposing the entry that was used for Walmart for the new Restaurant Depot entry. The entryway will be enhanced with some different varying colors on the finish surface that's there. We're incorporating the blue color that's part of the Restaurant Depot logo, incorporating that into the architecture. The rear of the building, we're eliminating the garden center that was there for the Walmart, and we're installing 5 new truck bays. The finish at the rear of the building will be concrete block. It'll be painted the same to match the rest of the building, and it will blend in with the building that's there. The presentation that you see on the board here, we met with the Architectural Review Board. We were accepted by the Architectural Review Board. They made a few suggestions, not requirements, but suggestions. We've incorporated those, and that's what you see today. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to come up and be heard on this? Do we have anyone on Zoom? No.
Good evening, Tom Nigel, 1131 Ostrander Avenue. I'm the property directly to the west of the outgoing, property. The wife and I, we have no problem letting the company come in. We welcome them. I do the local VFW, so we welcome them. I also am president of the Riverhead Polish Hall, and we can't wait for them to open. The only gripe that we might have is traffic. And We don't know what traffic-wise is going to be coming out of that parking lot that's going to add to the chaos that's already on Ostrander Avenue. We already have the BJ's gas station there, so I'd be interested to see what traffic study is going to come out of this and see what happens with that. There was a traffic study with the BJ's gas station, but obviously with things that progressed with the gas prices and everything, went pretty much crazy. So, but we do welcome Restaurant Depot. We can't wait for them to open. I mean, it'll be a great improvement to the restaurant business in town. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. There's no one else from the public on this matter? Any questions here?
I have some questions regarding the rooftop units, the noise of the rooftop units. Does Restaurant Depot deal with load shedding on electricity? You know what load shedding is? We don't start all the compressors all at the same time, nothing runs all at the same time. What they do is to save on electricity. They monitor and only start certain units. They're never all running at the same time.
So
Is that something they utilize?
I'm not an MEP engineer, so I can't answer that question directly, but we can touch base with Restaurant Depot's MEP engineers and get that information for you. But the intent was to keep the units in the same location to prevent them getting closer to the southern edge of the building.
Do you have any idea how many units were on the roof on the pre-existing Walmart?
Bill, do you know the number?
There were close to 20 or more large units.
We're going to need you to come up here and speak, I'm sorry. And if you could just state your name again for the record so that we can keep everything in order.
William Kugelman, Phillips International. To answer your question, I believe there's over 20 units that were on the Walmart, when it was a Walmart store. And some of them were kind of close to the southern edge of the building. The Restaurant Depot plans, I believe, have 6 units. So it's a lot less units. And I believe there's like 4 15-ton units and maybe one 5-ton and one other maybe 10-ton unit. I'm just speaking off the top of my head.
I don't know if you can answer this question also. The traffic pattern, you're changing the traffic pattern in and out of the center at all? The one from 58 specifically, what I'm asking is how will the trucks enter and exit this new loading dock that you're building? Will they, I mean, it's very close to Oliver. Will they be coming off Oliver, or will they have enough room to navigate through the existing, which, when you get down towards the store, there's no room. There's no room to turn the trailer that I think I'm aware of.
Sure, so I can answer. I'm just going to grab one of the...
Sure.
I'm sorry, Andrew Kelly with VHB Engineering, Project Manager, Landscape Architect. I'm just going to grab one of the boards. So the intent... I'm trying to think the best way to do this. The intent would be for the truck traffic to come in on the furthest westernmost access to the site. They would continue southbound, come around the south side of the building, and back into the loading dock area. When they were done, they would exit to the east, come up north through the site, head west, and head out, and they would utilize the main access roadway on the site. And during my presentation, I mentioned we made some minor curb radii adjustments, and that is one of the ones that we adjusted, so that the truck can easily make that movement. In the submission package that you guys should have, there is a turn analysis showing that truck movement. We also went ahead and we changed the 2 existing trees that are there to a more columnar type tree to prevent any kind of conflict with the trailers coming in and out of the site.
So the entry is over by Firestone?
Yes, so the curb cut that's just west of Firestone. Yep.
Is that entryway also, at this time able to make left-hand turns out of?
So
That-
currently, you can, and that was one of the comments we received from the DPW. They want us to modify the westernmost curb cut, the second curb cut, to restrict the turning movements there. So that's one of the comments that we're working with.
You say
on
you
it.
can't make a left turn if
You
you're
can-
coming, if you're coming west?
You can
on
make,
58.
if you're coming west, you can make the left in. The county wants us to make it only a right-hand turn out. So that's what we're working through with the county currently.
So basically, when you come in, you'll come in off 58, go to the rear of the building, transverse across the rear of the building, and then up into the loading dock.
Correct, the proposed truck traffic, yes.
And there will be no truck traffic coming off of Ostrander Avenue?
Currently, that is not the proposed condition.
Could you with one of your drawings show where the noise containment is going to be in the back of the building? I see you have two
Sure.
different types.
May I have permission just to approach the?
Yes, please.
It's probably easier than what I just did, so I apologize. So the sound mitigation that we're proposing,
Could you show?
Yeah, show the
Turn-
board,
twist it a
please.
little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to start west and work east. Down here in this corner here, there's a proposed generator and transformer that will be enclosed with an 8-foot-high chain link fence with sound blankets or sound curtains on the fence itself to provide mitigation for the generator, the emergency generator. Moving further east, we have the loading dock. We have an 11-foot-high CMU block wall that will provide both sound mitigation as well as visual mitigation from the loading dock activities. It's actually, the CMU wall is actually 10 feet in height, and there's this poured-in-place concrete retaining wall for the loading dock that adds an extra foot on the high side of the wall, so on the south side for a total of 11 feet. The proposed refrigeration units are situated just north of the loading dock, and this has sound mitigation in the form of 12-foot-high ply-wall wood sound walls on the north and south side. And on the east side, we provide a 12-foot-high chain link fence with the sound curtains, and that's so that they can have access in and out for maintenance purposes. One thing that we did change from the previous submission that you received was we worked with the Restaurant Depot team to actually take some of the fan units that were previously located on top of the refrigeration units and brought them down at grade level to reduce the height of those units. So we were able to reduce the height of that wall in doing so. The other improvement that we're doing is the approximately 485 linear feet of wood 8-foot-high fence, which is right in this area. It starts kind of right in line with the loading dock, continues east, comes north, goes east and comes north again along the east side of the building. Again, that will be an 8-foot-high wood cedar fence. We're continuing to provide the required access to the DRA, similar to what's there today. And again, as I mentioned previously, this is actually going to create more of a visual screen from the neighboring residences just south of here. So that's where the proposed sound mitigation is currently proposed.
One of your drawings shows an 8-foot chain link fence with acoustic blankets
That's the sound curtain, I'm sorry, I used
Sound
the
curtain.
interchangeable word, yeah. that's
and
the same.
material, wait, what is the material?
It's like a rubber type material that's secured to the chain link of the fence to create sound in.
It doesn't deteriorate or
No,
with
it's
rain or
designed,
wind or snow, et
it
cetera?
is designed for exterior use and applications such as this. And we can provide a spec to the board if you need. And just to answer the one comment that was made earlier about the sound study and the professional engineer, Jason Ross was the HB engineer. He was the professional engineer that reviewed and approved the sound study that was submitted. I can submit his design
Okay,
credentials
thank you.
should you need.
Thank you.
As far as the building itself, is Restaurant Depot going to be using all parts of the 65,000 square feet, or are you going to be subletting?
Bill, can you answer that?
Bill Kugelman, Phillips International. The Walmart building is approximately 121,000 square feet. Restaurant Depot is leasing 65,250 square feet, approximately, the east portion. So they're going to take that entire 65,250 square feet for their use, and we're putting up a demising wall, And then on the other side will be another 55,000 square feet approximately, and we're in the process of searching for a new co-anchor for the shopping center.
You don't have anything now. So, but there'll be a petition.
We've had a lot of conversations, but once you have a powerhouse like Restaurant Depot, the process gets a lot easier to attract and lock down another tenant.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions?
I'd like to move that the public hearing for,
Somebody in the back wants to speak.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, sir.
Yep.
Richard Mazeski, 148 Kings Drive. I live directly behind the shopping center, exactly. Now, these trucks, this is my question, is the sounding, because if you're talking the tractor trailers going through, there's only one small driveway, and they're going through, and then you're not talking just one or two, you're talking 8, 10, 20, whatever. And they said something about a sound barrier. They're going to build, a fence. I'd just like to know how it's going to affect my property and my neighboring property, because they're not happy about the trucks going through there. And the fence that's there right now, it's not doing a heck of a job, and if you're going to start having all these trucks going through one way, I'm not going to be a happy camper. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
So Restaurant Depot has a kind of a queuing setup to control the amount of traffic that comes back, and Larry can speak to that more when I'm finished if he's able to, but what I'm trying to say is that there wouldn't be a consistent flow of trucks coming around the backside of the building. We also do have no idling signage up, so the idea is that once the truck is positioned at the loading dock, it'll shut down. Also, the noise levels that are shown in our study, again, are kind of worst-case scenario, assuming that a truck is constantly operating back there throughout the hours of operation. It's assuming that the generator is constantly running and the mechanics are constantly running, which obviously would not be happening, right? Once the truck parks, it's going to shut down. So the noise levels that are shown in our study are very conservative and worst-case scenario. So actually, the conditions will be slightly lower. We are proposing to replace the portion of the fence that is in line with the loading dock, as previously mentioned. So that should help address some of the visual concerns. We did work with our client to evaluate installing a 12-foot plywall structure along the south and east property line as a sound wall. However, the engineering of it would affect the existing evergreen screen there, and we felt that was more of an impact to the site to remove that screen in order to fit the plywall structure in that location. And it also did not yield any additional mitigation in terms of noise levels. It was very, very minimal.
Delivery times, can they be adjusted?
So the delivery times are within the town ordinance. I believe it's from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Now, you have how many trucks per day, or how many deliveries per day, average?
Larry, can you, do you mind?
Was it 7 a.m. to what?
8 p.m.
8 p.m.?
I think the ordinance allows...
State your name, please.
I'm Larry Cohen from Restaurant Depot. I think the ordinance allows 7 to 8, but our typical hours are 7 to 4. We're typically done by 4, 3:30 or 4. Just one other thing that I didn't realize. They said when they did the sound study, it assumes that the generator is running full-time. The generator only runs 15 minutes a week to exercise unless there's a blackout. So that's a lot of noise that will be non-existent. And was there another, a number of deliveries. So it's 7 to 4. We typically have about 20 deliveries a day. Most of them are tractor trailers, but it's spread out among the 9, 10 hours. So 3, 4 trucks a day, an hour, if that makes sense. And as they alluded to, we have a staging area up front. If there are extra trucks, we can stage them up front where they're closest to the road and away from the neighbors, and then bring them in. And we used to do that with a beeper system, but now they all have cell phones. It's pretty easy. So, any other questions while I'm up?
Not for me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Make a motion that the public hearing for Riverhead PCG LLC be closed. So moved.
Second.
Vote please, Bear.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Nenaro.
Yes.
Nacesky.
Yes.
Woski, yes. Thank you very much. Next, we will move on to our second public hearing, which is Silverback Holdings minor subdivision.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Well, it must have been crazy. That's why I asked. Load shed question. Load shedding.
All right, thank you. Greg Bergman again, Riverhead Planning Department. This is a public hearing on a two-lot minor subdivision application called Silverback Holdings. This is a property located at 214 Marcy Avenue in Riverhead. Right now it contains the Polish Hall, as well as a existing single-story wood frame structure that has previously had a number of uses. The existing property is located in the RA 40 zoning district. The subject parcel is 1.84 acres in size. What the application is proposing to do is to subdivide the property into two parcels. One would have a size of 1.49 acres. The other property would have a size of 0.34 acres. They're basically looking to split off that separate single-story frame structure onto its own separate parcel, retain the Polish Hall with the existing parking lot, and they plan to sell that existing, the new property with that frame structure to the current tenant of that building. This application did require relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for lot size, as well as just exceeding the maximum impervious surface coverage within the RA 40 zoning district. They did receive that relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals by appeal number 22-13, and that determination was dated May 26, 2022. I believe Mr. Cuddy is here representing this application again, so I'll turn it over to him if the board has any questions.
Thank you.
Charles Cuddy, 445 Griffin Avenue, Riverhead, New York, for the applicant. I incorporate all of Mr. Bergman's comments because that's what I would say. So he said it. I do have here with me tonight Mr. Nijin, who has already spoken, who's president of the Polish Independent Club, and also John Troyan, who is the person who wants to buy this particular building that's been, right now, a storage building. This really just mirrors what's been there for more than 50, 60 years. And so they're taking a building that's there, 15,000 square feet. The remaining parcel, which is all of the Polish Hall, is 64,000 square feet. They're going to retain it. It has a very significant economic impact because the Polish Hall has had difficult times during COVID. And so this sale of this building is very important economically to them. That concludes my remarks.
Mr. Cuddy, let me just ask you, there was, I believe from the last time that we had the discussion, there's no CO for this property, for the building that's on this property, correct?
That's true, because they were built before 1964.
Okay, so what will happen? Will they be applying for a
Well,
CO at this point?
we're going to ask for pre-existing COs, yes. They just didn't, they never thought about getting them, that's all right.
Okay.
Question, is there going to be any fence or anything like that to separate the two properties? Or is it it's just the property line?
I don't think right now we propose to put up a fence. The area that would be used for parking would be impacted by doing that, so I don't think that'd be a good idea.
And the entrance and exit will be off Sweezy, is that right?
Yes, for this side will be, yes.
Do we have anyone that would like to come up and say anything on this? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
I'll move we close the public hearing on Silverback Holdings.
Second?
Vote please, Bear.
Yes?
O'Day. Nenaro.
Yes.
Nacesky.
Aye.
Woski, yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Cuddy. And our third public hearing now is Kevin Harrington minor subdivision.
Thank you, Greg Bergman, Riverhead Planning Department. This is another two-lot minor subdivision application for Kevin Harrington. This application is proposing to subdivide an existing 17.14 acres of land and create two separate parcels, one having an area of 14.5 acres, the other having an area of approximately 2.57 acres. The property is located at 1653 Middle Road in Calverton within the Agricultural Protection Zone, the APZ zoning use district. This subject property was they had development rights purchased from the town of Riverhead in 2003. That purchase of development rights preserved approximately 12.1 acre portion of the property. At that time, it was owned by the Rienzo family. That deed of development rights was filed with the Suffolk County Clerk on September 26, 2003. And when you look at the subdivision map, when they filed that deed of development rights with the county, that's what created the two separate parcels that they're currently identified as, but it was never formally subdivided. So what this subdivision application is really seeking to do, it's going to create two parcels. Lot number one would have an area of 14.5 acres, 12.15 of which would still be encumbered by that deed of development rights. And then the other lot number two would be 2.57 acres, and that would have development rights intact. So basically, they would be able to build one additional house on the 2.5 acres. It would not really increase, the development potential. That 12.1 acres would still be encumbered. So it's really just kind of changing the lot lines around, and it's not really getting them anything other than what they would be entitled to under the current zoning.
Okay.
Well, 12.1 would give them another building lot.
Well, no, so the 12.1,
Well, the 14.56,
so the 14.56, out of that 14.56, 12.1 acres of that is preserved. So they basically have roughly a 2.4 acre building
Excellent.
lot, which currently has an existing house on it.
oh, it has an
Yeah,
existing house.
so
Got
so
it.
they'd be
Okay.
looking to,
Okay,
they're creating a new 2.5 acre lot roughly,
Okay.
which they could basically get one new house.
no problem.
And again, I believe Mr. Cuddy is here if the board has any questions.
Good evening. I'm standing in actually for Tom Wolpert of Young and Young, who was unable to come. But I think it's just a single lot that we're talking about. This is a little less than 2.5 acre lot. And it's to be used by the family. Danielle Kilfoyle is here. She's the daughter of the owner. They plan on using it for family purposes, but again, it's just one single lot that's being created. And the other one is the development rights sold lot, so it's preserved pretty much forever.
Very good. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to come up on this matter? Do we have anyone on Zoom? Okay.
I move we close the Kevin Harrington minor subdivision, so moved.
Second?
Vote please, Bear.
Yes?
O'Day.
Yes.
Nenaro.
Yes.
Nacesky.
Aye.
Woski. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to our discussion items. The first item this evening is 64 Cliff Way, Chapter 219. And we have Heather Trojanowski for that.
That's what number 3. Kevin
Two lots of, one house.
Still with Silverback. Still with Silverback.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? I didn't know I was going to sit down here.
Oh,
Okay,
well, welcome.
thank you, nice to meet you. Nice to meet everybody.
Can you just state your name?
My name's Yun Sun Chun, that's E-U-N, space S-U-N, space C-H-U-N. I'm the owner, and my husband and I, of 64 Cliff Way.
And for the record, Heather Trojanowski, site plan reviewer for the planning department. This is a Chapter 219 application. The subject parcel is 64 Cliffway in Calverton, better known as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-39-2-37. It's approximately 13,034 square feet, just under a third of an acre, and located within the Residence A40 zoning use district. Currently has a single-family residence, attached rear and side decks, an outdoor shower, bulkheading at the toe of the bluff, and a timber retaining wall and a front landing and stairs. So the applicants are proposing to remove an existing deck, which was built without approvals or permits. The prior owner, Mr. Schmid, did go through the Chapter 219 process. I believe some of you were on the board at that time. It was 2018. And he obtained Chapter 219 approval. He procured a letter of non-jurisdiction from the DEC, so he did not need any permits from the DEC at that time. But he never followed up with the building department, so no permits were issued, no COs were issued. New owners of the property purchased the property, and they would like to remove that decking. They are also in the process of legalizing an addition that the prior owner did. They have a permit from the building department for that, to legalize the interior alterations. They would like to construct a pergola where the existing deck is, but actually bring it further away from where the bluff begins to go down. Unfortunately, the Seahon line runs pretty much straight through the property. If you looked at the submitted site plans, there's no way they could get around having to obtain Chapter 219 approval, and under the code, pergolas are not considered, they're not specifically permitted under Chapter 219, so they do need to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance from 219.
Can I ask you, what's a pergola?
A pergola, it's a structure, they're attaching it to the house, and it's open on all sides. You can put, screening on top or grow plants on top. And I believe the purpose is to really provide shade and sort of create an environment so that you can enjoy the outdoors. Currently, there's no sort of overhang. I was at the site on a very sunny day, and it is hot. It's hot, and the deck, again, was built without permits. I don't believe there are any sort of footings that exist under it, so it's not in very good condition. So they'll be removing that. They're putting in 4 sonotubes, and it's, again, they're bringing the construction further away from where the bluff begins to crest and go down. So I don't think that, what they're proposing is going to further cause any sort of further erosion or any sort of runoff. They're putting a gravel pad underneath, so that'll allow for water to pass through. They're currently scheduled to go to the zoning board next week for both the Chapter 219 variance, and then the pergola is proposed to be 2.3 feet from the side property line. They also want to put a 6-foot fence in the front yard, and that's really just for privacy. The way that the property is graded, the topography undulates, so you walk into the ground level, which is at the grade of the street, but then you walk up the side of the house is, the topography changes, yeah. But where the deck currently exists, it's very flat. So they'll be able, I don't think they'll have any issues with the construction staging. And again, what they're proposing is going to be further away from where the crest of the bluff is.
What condition was the bulkhead in? Did you notice that?
I did not. I'm actually waiting for comments to come back. I referred it to Vinny Gaudiello, the consulting engineer. I'm hoping I'll be getting those back. He received everything. So his comments hopefully will come back before the ZBA meeting. But again, they need to go through the variance process and obtain the variances before they can come back to the planning board for approval.
So the extension that was put on without permit is the one with the doors facing the water?
They actually did a second story. They bumped it up a little bit.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any questions?
Let's see what the ZBA has to say.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Oh, and just for the record, I do have a resolution on to classify SECRA, just, because they're going to ZBA next week, so that's one of the resolutions I have on today. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather. Next up, I don't know where that's coming from. Sorry. We have Fadoon Warehouse, number 4, with Matt Charters.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I don't want to mix too many words tonight. Keep it brief and to the point. This is Fadoon Warehouse number 4. If the board's familiar, I want to say in 2018, Mr. Fadoon had a similar project located next door to this. This is for a second warehouse use, 2,800 square feet with a 400 square foot storage shed. As part of a minor subdivision that was filed in 2016. Nothing too crazy on this application. What you might have noticed on the plan that I sent you, all the parking is shown on the property to the west. In the Village Center zoning use district, it does speak to shared parking and cross-access agreements, connect everything, get things off the street. So a condition of approval on this application will be for shared parking and cross-access. I'm also recommending a future cross-access agreement to the property. I believe it's at 303 Osborne this way. So in the future, if that property ever comes in for site plan, you will be able to get theoretically from Lincoln Street all the way out to Osborne. As submitted, this is an unlisted action. Typically, this would be a type 2, but because it requires a use variance, it's unlisted. I did outline the variances in the report. They do need a variance for warehousing, which is not permitted in the village zoning use district, Village Center zoning use district. Also, outdoor storage is not expressly permitted, and they do need it for a rear yard setback of 8 feet, where 25 feet is required. A denial letter was issued on June 13th. June 13th, 2022. And I am recommending the board adopt a negative declaration so the applicant could proceed with the ZBA application. The next section speaks to traffic and access, so they'll be coming into the existing curb cut that allow them to get to the back of the building where there's 2 bays, if I understand correctly.
They have to get easements or anything from?
Yes, yeah, so they'll have to have a cross-access agreement and a shared parking agreement as well.
You said cross-access easement, and that would be on the east side out to,
So, yeah, it would be on the western property line between the 2 parcels. I'll show you. Pretty indicated on the plan, so southwest and south.
So the access is from Lincoln.
Yeah, so the access from Lincoln's over here, come around, and the cross-access would be here. It's shown down in this corner, would be essentially this whole area. And then I'm asking for a future cross-access here, here, because this is a commercial property here. They could come out and go to Osborne.
yeah, that's the one I was looking at, the second.
Mr. Fadoon, I would suggest that you move that stockade fence.
Yes.
Yes.
Eliminate that because
It's going to be fixed and moved.
that's in on your property by quite a bit.
Pat, is this a pole barn?
Yeah,
Is it a sharp
just like the
building?
other one. It's going to be on the foundation like the
Yeah.
other one. The best way to
Similar building, metal building, it's got the wood
Yeah.
facade on the
Yep.
front.
Do the wood
I
facade.
had them done, Mike, you guys are amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nice building.
Looks very nice. Yeah, so the new storage areas with the building, with the smaller storage building, that's an additional 4 spots. They can accommodate it on site. Some changes to the landscaping plan. There was just a couple Scribner errors that I noticed, noted in the report. The only major change that I'm recommending is the autumn olive is actually a prohibited species by the New York State DEC. It's invasive, so if that can be replaced with something native for screening. And then if they could plant some street trees in the front too that match the existing, because the existing trees are very beautiful.
It might be hard to do street trees on that because I put the plums in the front of the
Yep.
other one,
Yep.
but I got a 15-foot setback. This one is going to have about a 7-foot. The trees are going to be right on the building, so it's going to be tough.
To my other point is, I was going to ask if you could maybe slide the building back slightly to accommodate the trees, because I don't think it will eat up too much,
Right.
because you don't have any parking in the back.
Right, but the trouble is I find out with the back, nowadays, the trucks that come in, it's a small, light trucks, the vans. It's not the normal van. The van's now about 24 feet. So they need that turning radius to comfortably turn and turn out. As you can see, in the original site, this is about 60 feet back. It works perfect because those trucks are about 30 feet long to swing and turn around. If I move the building back, it's going to create it very tight back there, and I also going to be into the cross-access that you're going to need.
Yeah, so if it's 7 feet, I don't think you're going to eat up too much, but we could leave it as an open issue.
Sure.
In terms of the dumpster, it's shown all as chain link. This section of the code does speak to wood or opaque fencing, so I'm recommending that that gets changed to maybe a stockade or something that's, similar in nature. We did get comments back from the town engineer, that some items with the drainage structures that needs to be addressed. Sewer district did reply that they just need to apply separately. And then this obviously needs to go to ARB. But at this time, I'm just recommending those changes that I've outlined and a negative declaration pursuant to secret.
Okay.
And they gotta get ZBA?
And ZBA, yes.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Riverhead Nissan with Matt again.
I don't know if I have any applicants that came tonight, but they did get the resolution and the report last week. They were at ARB. This is very simple. It's kind of a plug-and-play facade change. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to look at the plans. Most of these car dealerships do what's called an ACM panel on the exterior, which are those metal panels. This is just to update the facade and paint the buildings and replace an overhead door. So it's a metal door going to a glass door. It's a nice, attractive color, a little darker. That's pretty much it.
Nice.
The only additional condition of approval that I included was they show all the signage on the site plans, just to note that the signage is under the review of the building department, and they'll have to apply separately. So your site plan approval won't get them the signage.
Any lighting changes?
Lighting all complies. This came in for site plan, I think, in 2019, when they updated the lighting and they did the additional parking area in the back.
As this goes through the process, can you find out if that speaker thing is
Yeah,
actually
I'll
happening?
inquire. So, yeah, I don't know if
Appreciate
it's, maybe it comes on at night to keep people
Yeah,
off the
I-
property, but
I'm not quite sure what was that, but that's
We'll
what
ask.
the neighbors were saying.
we'll see what we can check out.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
No problem.
Perfect. And our last discussion item is Long Island Cauliflower Association Commercial Center. We have Greg Bergman for that.
Thank you. We have Richard Israel and
John Martinez.
Richard, there's a microphone under that.
Okay.
You don't squelch if you leave it there too long.
All right, so this is a quick follow-up discussion, continued discussion on the site plan application for Long Island Cauliflower Association. It's approximately 7 acres on the northwest corner of the intersection of Old Country Road and Mill Road. They are proposing 4 separate pad sites, 3 of which will be restaurants with drive-throughs. One of them is proposed to be a Chick-fil-A. There's one that currently has tenants proposed to be Dunkin' Donuts and Jimmy John's Sandwich Shop. And the 2 additional buildings at the north currently do not have tenants. There's just a couple of button-up issues that I want to go over with the board before we get to preliminary approval. One of the things I wanted to bring to the board's attention was with the Chick-fil-A restaurant. On previous versions of the site plan, they had the order canopy kind of right at the entrance to that drive-through lane. It's a 3-lane drive-through. That I kind of identified with the applicant, identified that it could kind of create some queuing issues. If you're starting to queue right at that canopy, you could be backing up into that driveway. So they did swing that canopy deeper into that drive-through lane. So right now, I believe the order points are located towards the south end of that canopy. So it basically gives you 24 car queue spaces from that order point before there would be any backup, into the main drive aisles. During peak hours, like I've said several times, I have been to Chick-fil-A's throughout the island. They do manage their traffic. There is sufficient space within the Chick-fil-A pad site, so if they did have any congestion during peak hours, they could potentially have them come down to the south, queue up around this lane, and then travel into the drive-through. So I do recommend that they just formalize a traffic control plan during peak hours. One of the concerns that I have, and I had kind of vocalized it previously, was the proposed Dunkin' Donuts Jimmy John's building, which is on pad site number 2. Right now, they're proposing, the site plan doesn't really clearly identify the location of any order boards or order points, which when you go to a drive-through restaurant, that's where your queuing starts. But more importantly, the building is proposing 2 drive-through windows, one for each tenant, one for the Dunkin' Donuts, one for the Jimmy John's. When you look at the traffic pattern around the site, it just seems to me like having 2 drive-through windows, one on each side of the building, kind of creates the potential for some confusion and some real congestion. I mean, I understand there's been claims that, Dunkin' Donuts is more morning hours, Jimmy John's is more evening hours. It just seems like it could be setting up for, some traffic congestion and really kind of jamming up traffic. Where does one queue lane start? Where does the other end? What do you do when if there are conflicts? So one of the recommendations is that the elimination of one of those drive-through windows. I have seen other, where there's 2 restaurants in one building, I've seen they used to have like a Pizza Hut, Taco Bell combinations where they would share one drive-through window. So if it is going to be a common operator, maybe they can condense it into one drive-through window to kind of alleviate some of that problems. Don't know if the board shares my opinions, but I wanted to raise the concern.
They're
see
2
what-
separate businesses though, right?
Say it again?
They're 2 separate businesses.
They are 2 separate businesses, and they have 2 separate menu boards. I've had discussions with the potential tenants, which is the same owner, but it's 2 different franchises. Jimmy John's is owned by the same parent company as Dunkin' Donuts. And I've said to them, after seeing Greg's comments, is we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to understand, which I've learned that it's one thing to have a menu board. We need a place to stack the people waiting to see the menu board. And that, I believe he's correct, doesn't exist. The owners of that actually are going to be in Atlanta tomorrow to discuss that with Jimmy John's. This is there are some of these dual concepts in the South, and they're trying to understand how to bring them to the North here. I don't know the answer to the question. I understand what he is suggesting, so I basically said to them, here's your comments from the staff. Let's see how we can rework it to make it so that it does function properly, that
Both
there is.
businesses have menu boards, right?
Well, so the question was, where's the menu board? And the next question is where's the stack lane behind the menu board? Because it's one thing that if I order here and I need my 3 cars by the time I get to my pickup window, my meal is prepared. And then for that person waiting to put in his order, he's out of traffic. Now understand that all of these are private sites and none of it will ever spill onto a public road and things like that. But it always makes sense business-wise for it to work properly.
Both of these restaurants still have eat-in as well, do they not?
They do have small eat-in things. Most of these restaurants now only have, and we can find out, but I want to say there was,
There's also going to be
there's
parking.
30 seats between both of these restaurants inside, and there's 20 on a patio. I mean, their patio may disappear to make room for that, or the direction of traffic may change, from the back.
So that's a work in progress.
To do that. So I'm not their engineer, so I've said to them, guys, we need to meet, we have to figure something out. We'll bring it in front of the staff to see if it works and the like. When I asked them, can we eliminate a drive-through, they said absolutely not. What they did suggest, and
and I said to him, you got to show us, is that actually, as a person enters, if their meal is not ready, they would almost pull up to space number 1, like you see outside Panera, and they will run out your meal when it's done. We see it outside McDonald's and this and that, you're set aside. But they said that the Jimmy John menu is very limited, and you don't get a million choices, to do to your sandwich. So they are fixed relatively quickly. So I've just said to them, guys, right now we have a stack lane that has 6 cars in it. The menu board can't be at the 6th car. So they wrote me an email this afternoon to say that there's normally 4 cars between the menu board and the takeout, which only leaves a stack lane of 2. And that's where the discussion is really about, where the Dunkin' Donuts one, if you look at it, they actually are quicker in their service, and between their order board and the window, there's only about 4 or 5 cars, but there's a stack lane there that holds another 4 or 5 cars. And it does move a lot quicker because they're very limited in their menu, and it's, hey, give me a donut, give me a coffee, and I'm gone. So,
Well, I would strongly disagree with the fact that Dunkin' Donuts is primarily a morning place. I was actually at Dunkin' Donuts, which I don't often go to, there yesterday at 3:30 in the afternoon, and I had to go inside. There's no drive-up, but there was about 10 people in front of me at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Right.
So with today's iced coffees, and, they also have some kind of frozen drinks and refreshment drinks, non-alcoholic, lemonades, and I don't think that we should consider that strictly a morning place and not recognize that there's going to be a lot of traffic for Dunkin' Donuts on top
I mean,
of Jimmy John's.
I believe they're open from morning till about, let's say, 5 o'clock. So, but here I think they have to come up with a better method of that second drive.
I'm not opposed to drive-in windows because it makes it accessible to handicapped folks who can't get out and walk to them. So I'm not opposed to them, but you just have to make the logistics work.
Yeah, I mean, if the problem is, we've got 4 buildings on 7 acres. If this was a site that had a larger area to provide for the necessary stack lengths from the order board, it might not be an issue, but we're trying to, I don't know exactly how big the pad site 2 is in terms of area. I mean, they are providing the required parking for that use. If they have 50 seats, code requires 1 stall per 3 seats, so they do have 26 stalls, but it is tight. There is really no room for any kind of breathing space, for lack of a better term. So it's really just the site constraints that we're looking at. So if their engineers can work up something, clearly identify where those the menu boards are, the order points, and we can get a better understanding of how it's not going to become cumbersome or, confusing to, customers, I think we can move forward, but that is,
Will this eventually need a public hearing?
What's that?
Will we need a public hearing on this eventually?
We had a public hearing on this application. I believe it was either the first meeting in June or the first meeting in May. We did have a public hearing, and again, I did briefly touch on it, but I just wanted to have a more in-depth discussion with the board to really hammer this out, and I'm glad we did, because it seems as though the applicant is understanding and receptive, so.
I think we need to see the outcome of their meeting tomorrow and see what they come up with.
Yeah.
We stopped on that. Is there any more you're coming at us with? We stopped on just the one.
Oh, well, yeah, any more I'm coming at you with. Just one more comment, which has been really identified from the beginning of the application, is the need for town code requires that wherever there's a commercial property abutting a residential property, it requires a minimum 6-foot chain link fence with stockade attached. That would be required along the northern property boundary. Now, there is an existing vegetative buffer. It mainly consists of tall trees. There's no real low ground cover. They are proposing, where you have the parking stalls towards the northern property. First off, they do have the required 50-foot non-disturbance buffer, so that's not an issue. They are proposing, I believe it's a 3 to 4 foot retaining wall in front of the parking along the northern stalls, and then they are proposing a row of arborvitaes that would help shield any kind of headlights from going in, but, the code is the code. It says it requires a 6-foot, chain link fence with stockade attached. If the board would be amenable to, vinyl, chain link fence with privacy slats, I think that might accomplish some of the same screening. It's just that code requires it. I don't think that's a significant push, a significant ask, but if they don't provide it, it would be.
You said 3 to 4 foot. 4 foot sounds good to me.
Need a what?
I think
You
you're
said
talking
3
about
or 4 foot retaining wall? 4 foot sounds good to me. Another foot down, block those headlights from shining on the neighborhood.
I believe that's what you, Mr. Israel has already
So
stated
the
in his-
retaining wall is really to deal with the grades. We
Yeah.
basically balance the site so that some of the grades, if you've been on this site, as it heads north, especially towards the side of Commerce Park, there is a hill there. So we looked at it to say it would be good if we took that down and the like. The retaining wall is for that purpose because we didn't want to, originally that 50-foot, we didn't want to disturb, in essence. The arborvitaes came up to say, all right, that will be a living wall that both will protect them noise-wise, visual-wise, and everything else.
So it's going to be a stone wall, and then the arborvitae's on top?
Yeah, the arborvitae's is on top of the
Okay.
2 to 3 feet, so it's...
It was 3 to
it's-
4 a minute ago. Now it's 2 to 3.
Well, so the height of the wall does vary. You've got, for example, in the northwest corner, you've got bottom of curb at 31.5, and you've got top of wall at 34, so I mean, that's about 2.5. The other side, I apologize, it's between 2 to 3 feet in height. The top of wall is ranging from 38 to 36. I mean, if they add another foot to it, give you a little more comfort.
I'd say
And now I can get rid of the arborvitaes because now I'm going to put this 6-foot fence in this poor people's backyard.
I mean, there is an existing chain link fence along the property line right now. I believe it's only a 4-foot fence. So I mean, really, that chain link fence could come out and be replaced with a 6-foot privacy slats.
Right. So I have no problem putting up a 6-foot fence. I think it's, if that's the code, that's the code. But I'm sure those 3 or 4 neighbors are not going to be very happy about seeing this solid fence, 15 feet back from, those lots are very small. So we were trying to give them that visual buffer, but
Well,
I guess the final
fence
answer
doesn't necessarily
is...
have to go on the property line, does it, Matt?
The fence could go outside that existing vegetative,
I
existing.
mean, we
tree
may
line.
have to even pull down some trees to get that fence in because those trees are...
I'm not overly impressed with those trees, to be honest with you.
Okay, so we're probably going to clear, I'll say, 6 to 10 feet within where that goes so that, that fence can go up and have that quiet enjoyment of,
Why can't the fence go right on top of the wall where the arborvitae's going to go? Why does it have to go to the property line?
because your code says it has to go on the property line.
I'm not
Well,
comfortable with
it
suggesting
doesn't
them
say,
take
it
down
doesn't
trees.
say property, it doesn't say it has to go on the property line.
It has to be along,
It just says whenever the commercial use abuts a residential property, fencing is required. I'll double check, but I don't think it says it has to be on
We
the
just
property.
want to make it as nice as we can for the neighbors that are living next to it.
absolutely. And that's why I've been
Nice and
saying,
screened.
we'll give them vegetative buffers
Screen
and
so they
things
can't
like
see what's
that.
going on.
The problem with the vegetation that exists there, it's trees. And they're deciduous, so in the winter, they're naked and bare, and the site for the first 8 or 10 feet is just tree trunks.
I agree with you.
So, that's why we put in the row of arborvitaes back where the development is, and we were gonna try to leave that treed area alone, even though it's not, it's natural, which everybody, or we all used to wanna keep, and the like. So I was trying to make it so that those houses at least had some vision, some light, and the like. But we're here to do what you require. We're looking to move forward, and if it means me putting up a 6-foot fence
We want
with
to help
slats
you,
in
but
it,
we want you to be a good neighbor also.
I'm trying.
You gotta be able to block their view of what you're building and what's going on down there.
Say it again, Tor?
You gotta be able to block their view.
And I think
And I think
we'll have done that with
vegetation
the
is nice, But
arborvitae's.
when you put it in, it doesn't look like it's gonna, you go, well, you wait 5 years, it'll be much better. Right? But you put up a fence, it's there, they can't see it.
We're willing, it's just a fence, so, it's again, if
Stockade
that's the answer to the question, and you want, there's currently a 4-foot fence, which I believe is the cauliflowers, but I would think we would put the 6-foot fence in front of that line. When I was there last, there are trees that go right up against that fence on both sides, so some trees will have to be removed to
Well,
do
either the
that.
fence has to be moved closer to the wall, and then the arborvitae's can start.
But that just leaves room for adverse possession of things. So, as a
Well,
property,
you're not going to take the 4-foot fence down, whatever's there now is going to remain.
if you want me to take down, well, we'll find out whose fence that is, which is the first question. I believe it's the cauliflowers, so I'm just trying not, a person's backyard is their backyard.
Right.
And, when I go there and start tearing it up, and there's their rose bush that's entwined in the fence for the last 20 years, we're going to hear about that. So I'll gladly, when the code or you guys say this is what must be done, we will do it.
You
And
have other
we're both
changes to
going to take
make.
them.
What we want you to do is impress us. We don't want to tell you what to do.
I've been trying to do that, but I guess I haven't
Try
been winning.
A little bit harder.
You're
So
almost there.
the
Yeah.
question is, am I better to take down some of those deciduous trees and put a green fence, I'll call it a row of arborvitae's or white pines or blue spruces along that backyard, so that now they have, and I'll put it on my side of the world, so that they have vegetation to look at, and it makes that thing. But if you need me to put up a 6-foot fence, we either do it with a living buffer and leave the fence that's there, or the like. And we all know that if I put emerald green giants there, arborvitae's, within 4 or 5 years, they're going to be 10 feet tall. They grow very quickly. And that might be an answer, but it means that 50-foot area now is basically going to be, I use the terrible word of saying it's going to get leveled and maybe there'll be grass on our side or something like that, but those trees will disappear.
You know what, I'll go out, I'll do a site visit, I'll do a more in-depth assessment, I'll kind of evaluate exactly what's there, I'll try to, pace it off, I'll go out with a measuring wheel so we can really understand.
I'd be happy
That'd
to
be
meet you
great.
out there.
All right.
And I'll
Yeah.
go out there too at that time.
Do a nice little field trip.
So we've always said we'll do what was necessary and needed. We originally had one row of arborvitae's behind the retaining wall. We then, in discussion, said, hey, why are we even touching back here? Why don't we leave it kind of virgin? So we put in a second row of arborvitae's. If you want me to take that second row and move it to the back, so be it. We have to be careful when we get closer to the street that we don't start making that a person can't see down the street, so I would probably keep it back. And there is no house. We'd probably keep it back 20 feet at that point so that there's never any issue in the future of that, happening. So,
Let's take a look.
so we'll gladly address that. We are trying to move forward so that Chick-fil-A can move forward in doing. The plan that we've given you is phased.
Yes,
So,
my question, could you
Yeah.
explain the phases? Because
So-
it looks like you've got phase one, you're gonna build that ring road all the way around, is that correct?
So in the phasing plan, what we tried to do is to create it, and we've always been told that our phase one should always finish the perimeter and finish any shared parking lots and things like that. So we're expecting to get this whole site to where it needs to be grade-wise, you know, in its cut and fill and everything else from the beginning, because we are taking fill from here and moving it here and balancing the site. So at the same time, we said, also for the quiet enjoyment of my subdivision, that we would look to put up the fence and the plantings this way. And phase one shows that road that leads to the north, because it is, you know, when we speak to the fire marshals and all that, they want that second mean of egress off of Mill. So if you look at the phase one plan, it is basically the Chick-fil-A site, all the perimeter of the site, so all that will get planted and done, and the creation of that road. So all the egresses will be completed in that phase one, and the only thing left then, as you can see, are the pads of phase two, phase three. Phase 4 and 5 are kind of together right now, but phase 5 is a parking lot, but it is divided by that road. So we left it as a separate phase, you know, based on that. So conceptually, by the time they get to open, we've done our perimeter, we've dealt with all of the curb cuts and everything else that's related to the property, and then we're basically waiting for each individual tenant to build. We're hoping that we don't have to wait for finishing the comments on the Dunkin' Donuts, Jimmy John's, or whatever. We don't want to wait for that. We want to get them opened and the like. So that's where you see your phasing plan is we're basically doing all of our, you know, the sewer's going to go in and be brought all the way up to the last lot. The water has to come in from the north, be brought down. The electric has 2 transformers and its loop. The fire department, in their comments, want us to give them another fire hydrant, which we've agreed to more towards the northern side. So there'll be 2 fire hydrants in here along the access roads. So all the utilities have to come in. All of that life safety has to be created. So all the grading will be there. So we might as well create the curbs. And once we create the curbs, we can do the plantings behind it.
On the southern end of Chick-fil-A, where you have phase one written, is that
Yeah.
going to be a roadway, or is that just going to be plantings? Outside of the parking lot?
So outside the parking lot along 58
Yeah.
and along Mill will
Yeah.
all be planted and finished. You know, in other words, their whole site plan will be done. Our pylon will be built on 58. The other thing that we're going to do, because we have these 2 major, you know, places, we're going to be going to the ZBA to ask for a second pylon, which has been shown on the plans at the Mill Road entrance, and then obviously on the corner on 58, so people know that, hey, this is the right center. And we may even put a little directional on that sign to make people understand that to come into our complex, make the left on Mill Road, make a left at the light, so that I don't see anybody ever trying to get into this entrance who's
Never
heading
know.
east. But I thought that maybe on this sign, and we may ask the variance to allow us a little more square footage so that we can put a directional to say, enter on Mill Road. And this way, we don't have that issue. We're first going to go through that
We're
process.
trying to make left turns off of 58 going east.
Yeah, I mean,
off of 58.
DPW.
And you don't want that.
Yeah,
They-
DPW has prohibited
Right.
that. So
So-
there will be signage, no lefts, but there's always the one,
And
can't
how
put
a
it-
person's
it's
ever gonna
wide
do
enough
that
for a
because
car.
you have two lanes going west, and at that point, because of the turning lane for, I'll call it Home Depot, it's 4 to 5 lanes in that width too. But again, like you say, we've seen crazy things happen. So, and I think that's why, in the end, Suffolk County basically reduced that to a very small opening there, so that it doesn't look very manageable to get in. So,
I have one more question.
sure.
In our most recent report, there's quite a detailed discussion from our engineer on drainage. Have you guys reviewed that?
And I
What's going
have,
on
but
there?
I'm not the engineer, Doug is, and I know that he's developed it so that it can go through its SWIP, and the SWIP is really what governs a lot of that they require the extra storage and everything else. And Doug says to me that we comply with that. He's already gone and spoken to the state about that. The reason why those control things are in there, it allows us to have less of a coverage at the bottom. We can go to 2 feet if we have those weirs and those other systems. And he's already gotten that approved through the state. So I don't want to comment on Vinnie's comments, but they will get addressed to his
Well, that's all right.
satisfaction
I
and
want to make sure that
calculations.
they're passed along to Doug Adams, and
Right.
he
And as
he
far
sits
as
down
the-
with Vinnie, and the two of them work it out.
Right, so as far as the easements and stuff, that's all been worked out. All the documents have to get created. They have to be approved not only by Suffolk County Health, but our sewer department and the like. And we're used to doing that, we've done them before. So understand that that sewer is a service line. It's not an extension of the sewer main and the like. The one thing that the water department or the fire department has come up and said they want us to loop the water. And that's just, I don't know how we're going to do that. So there has to be more discussion. I mean, Riverhead Commons, which is across the street from Firestone, we don't have a loop system. We might be able to create a loop within our park, that it comes back around, to the two fire things, but I think they want me to go elsewhere, and I don't have room to bring a water main to Commerce Drive. There has to be separation between sewer and water, and it was never anticipated that this be a water easement in, so we just have to finish discussing that, but I'm not understanding exactly why they feel it needs to be.
Commerce
a loop.
Drive has water, though, too.
What?
Commerce Drive has public water.
Absolutely. And public sewer. So,
So maybe they want 2 easements, one for water, one for sewer.
I don't know if I have the room and the distance to make it happen with everything that's happening. I have drainage in this southern parking lot. So we've gotten the sewer where it kind of goes along the property line to stay away from my drainage for my roof drains and the like. But I don't know if I have the room for a water main. And it also just puts a tremendous, that means I have to put in 2 10-inch meters, 2 hot boxes, which you guys love. So this plan proposed a water room here, a water shed, that we wouldn't have a hot box exposed. We were going to build a small building here that would go in, the RPZ would be in that.
On the north side.
On the north side. If I have to all of a sudden go this way, I don't want to see a hot box on the face of Commerce Drive. We have it gets very narrow in here. So I don't have a solution for them to do this loop, and they don't want it to come back. My quick understanding was they didn't want it to come back to Mill. It wasn't like we were coming off a Mill, going this way and coming back. So again, we have 4 sites here. The buildings are very far apart. If there was a fire here, I don't think it would spread from building to building to building. Our buildings are small. The restaurants are 2,500 square feet, 5,000 for Chick-fil-A. Even the sit-down restaurant is only 6,000 square feet. They're all going to have sprinkler systems within it. So if there is a fire there, it will get extinguished probably within its own spaces. And I don't, it goes back to that engineering question, but I don't see the need to make this loop. But so far, the fire marshal is kind of insisting on it, and I don't know why. But we'll pursue that to try to finish that up.
Okay.
You know,
Good?
okay. So we're going to start to proceed to try to get our permits from the county, finish up our easements and the like, and, again, we're trying to get our approvals so that we can start to construct this, so that maybe by the end of next year, we could have an ongoing restaurant here, okay? So,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll speak with Eileen about the potential of moving forward, with the understanding that it's a phased development. If we do move forward, I don't want that to be construed as any type of approval for that phase 2 until we've adequately addressed that.
Right.
I think if we can come up with something that would, give us assurances that we're not approving that layout, I think we can,
Yes.
we'd be able to move forward.
Perfect.
Okay, right. So each improvement, as we do the phases, will have to come back to you as a little site plan addition. Hopefully doesn't have to go through all the secret and stuff, because we've basically done that with the master plan, and you can determine flow and parking and everything else per use. The other thing that John brought tonight was Chick-fil-A is very responsive, very, very capable. And you requested a traffic study, and this is the first time he's seeing, and we can pass them up to you. They've already come up with a traffic plan.
It's almost like they're coming down here and looping around.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, when you were describing it,
Huh.
I said, hey, I already did that.
Wow.
Actually, just pass it.
But you'll also see they put people out there.
Oh, yeah, no, I've seen Chick-fil-A.
So Chick-fil-A is very well versed, and they know that once that thing gets clogged up in their normal course of business,
Here, hold on, here.
$5.
they know that it's not, that the people don't know where to go. They actually send people out there and say, hey, loop around, and they make sure everybody stays in line and nobody cuts the line and things like that. So,
My pleasure to serve you today.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
thank you. I'll see you out there.
You got it. Looking forward. Bring your tape measure.
Thanks, guys.
All right, is there anyone here that has any comments on the resolutions? Seeing that there's no one, let's move on to our, oh, sorry.
I know. I did just want to make one amendment to the Riverhead Logistics Center resolution. A little error on my part. When I was filling out the Part 2 and the Part 3 of the full EAF, I had identified a moderate to significant impact for the removal of vegetation on the site, which is number 7 of the Part 2 of the EAF. So I just added a quick little amendment to that, which we will incorporate into the resolution when I have the full EAF Part 3, the reasons to...
Do that when we get to it. We can add it.
Oh, all right. All right, I'll wait.
I'll move resolution number 22 for Lee, which is to assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration. So moved.
63,
Vote please, Bear.
Yes.
O'Day.
60, okay. Yes.
Nenaro,
Yes.
Nacesky, Woski, yes.
I'll move Resolution 64 for Dune Warehouse Number 4 to classify an action pursuant to SECRE, assume lead agency and issue a negative declaration. So moved.
Second?
Vote please, Bear.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Nenaro,
Yes.
Nacesky, Woski, yes.
I'll move resolution number 65, which grants pursuant to SEQA and grants administrative approval for the Riverhead Nissan
Second.
fifth sign.
Second.
Vote please, Bear.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Nenaro,
Aye.
Nacesky,
Aye.
Woski, yes.
66, Hold Dental Resolution Grant preliminary site plan approval for one-story, 2,220 square foot medical office building with unfinished basement for mechanical storage.
Second.
Vote please, Bear.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Nenaro,
Aye.
Nacesky,
Aye.
Woski, yes. Okay.
You're up.
You're up.
So I just want to amend the full EAF Part 3, the evaluation of the magnitude and importance of project impacts and determination of significance. We're going to add number 7 to that list. Impacts on plants and animals. The application proposes to disturb nearly the entirety of the 39-acre site and remove nearly all of the existing vegetation. An ecological assessment of the subject property must be performed and must identify any habitats for any rare, threatened, or endangered species, as well as identify how the proposed development will interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for the predominant species that occupy or use the project site.
That's all?
That's it. Period.
I'll move resolution number 67 for Riverhead Logistics Center as amended. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Aye.
Yes.
Bear. O'Day.
Aye.
Nenaro, Nacesky, Woski, yes. Okay, do we have any public comments on all matters? Minutes, do we have the minutes?
Yeah, make a motion to move the June 16th, 2022 planning board minutes. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed?
Never got it.
Any other business?
I have something I'd like to bring up. I don't know if it's the proper time to bring it up, so I'll ask you regarding the gas station on BJ's about removing the existing vegetation.
George, are you on the record? Because I don't know if your stenographer can hear you.
We're on the record.
Yeah. Gas station about removing the existing.
Hey, should we bring it up? I can bring it up?
Sure.
Okay. Greg made a comment a couple weeks ago, which is a strong, good comment as far as I'm concerned, with the BJ's gas station, removing as you enter into the site, removing that vegetated area, okay, and that island, okay, so that you can bring more cars into that and get them off the street there. I think that's a great idea. I've looked at it several times. I've studied it for a while, okay, physically, and it's going to alleviate a lot of that. Can we?
We have met with the representative from BJ's. I will follow up with him again. Again, we understand the concern, we understand the impacts. I mean, I've seen it personally. We have made those recommendations, and I will follow up to see whether they could come in. Again, I think the proposed improvements would be pretty quickly achievable by the applicant. It wasn't like a full revamp of the site, but I will follow up with them, and I would like them to come
They would
in
have to
sooner
give us
rather
an
than later.
application, right?
They would have to submit an application. We would handle it administratively. Again, it would be, really minor improvements to curving, removing some landscaping, and I think it would really help to alleviate that choke
Yep.
point.
How did they react to it? Positive?
They seemed very amenable. I mean, they understand, they've got, many times they've got 2 traffic attendants there.
There are 2 people there now.
Yeah, so
There
they're,
are 2 people, it's,
those people do
room.
the best job they can. I've seen them there.
Yep,
They're
yep.
out there
They're
addressing
great.
the cars. But it's that choke point when you come in off Ostrander, so you'll have people waiting, can't get past them. If they were to cut that curb back, open that up, you could get people more queuing into the site, out of the roadway, so.
My rough figure on that is 16 to 18 cars That's quite a bit. That would alleviate all the problems in there, I think. So, great.
So I will follow up with them, and
Okay,
we'll try to get
You
them
add a
in sooner
Coke
rather
50
than
cents a
later.
gallon, that'll eliminate the traffic.
All right. Okay, our next meeting date is Thursday, July 21st, 2022, at 3 PM.
Close meeting?
Motion to close.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Yes, sir.